Hiya, so welcome back to this next session. We're going to texture the shelf. But first of all, I would like to UV map the shelf first. So so let's go to UV. Because it's kind of a cube shape, I'm going to use the automatic mapping. So we're going to have roughly 6 cameras taking a picture of the mesh from all 6 sides, and I'm going to go to UV editor. Here we go. And if we turn on the shaded mode, you can see that there are no flipped faces, and also we don't have any stretching going on. Now I could take this to Mudbox as is, so it won't be a problem. Or if you have some kind of labels and stuff, you know, if you've got something special, you can then organize your map in a way that it's going to make it easy for you to paint it. But for the sake of clarity, assuming that we're going to take, maybe we might take this to Photoshop as well, what I can do is, as you can see, we've got a seam up here. Let me just get rid of this. We've got a seam up there, so that's going to be visible in camera. What I like to do, connect the UV shell for the top and for this front plane and the bottom plane together, and that's quite easy. What I can do is just simply double click on that edge. It's not a continuous edge, it's just basically the edge for the front plane, and once you selected an edge either in the UV editor or in the viewport, it will find its neighbor. So if I go to cut and sew, move and sew, you can see that shell suddenly jumped. I think it was this one, and now we've got another seam up here, that white line. So if I think it's this one, so if I just double click, that should pick this edge, but I don't want to go around the entire mesh. That's it, just this part, and that should pick its neighbor, which is that one. So I go cut and sew, move and sew, and now we now know that the top plane, front and the bottom plane are all connected now, stitched together. Whatever is visible to the camera, so we can you know, it doesn't matter anymore, but we can select this one, that last edge, and we can go to cut and sew, move and sew. So now we kind of unwrapped this thing. It's like a cardboard box, and we can also connect these side bits. So as soon as I selected the edge, it finds its neighbor, which is one of these, and then if I go to cut and sew, move and sew, I'll bring out there. I can do the same here if I wanted to. Yeah, this one. That's it. So when you select this edge, it will find its neighbor, which is this plane. Cut and sew, move and sew. So you can see now, this is how it's represented now. So assume this is like a box. You cut it open and flattened it, and this is what you end up with. We check to see whether it's flipped. It's not. And also when we check the stretching and compression, distortion, if it's white, that means it's nice. And lastly, we have to bring this to the 0 to 1 space, which is this space. We can just roughly fit it in, and you want to make sure it's not beyond those borders or the axis lines. It's always in the positive side. Within the Cartesian axis system, you want to make sure this is in this positive area for now. As you go through 3D and you learn new tools and techniques, you will find out that what I'm saying is not valid for some of the novel texturing packages, because you can do multi-tile UV mapping, but that's a bit of an intermediate to advanced level stuff, so we're just going to stick to beginner level. So now we've got our object UV mapped. I'm going to take it to Mudbox. Actually, I should save it first. Send it to Mudbox as a new file, as a new scene. There we go. And I don't wanna keep the Maya thing open because somehow my computer finds it challenging to have Maya and Mudbox's the same file open. So I'm just going to go to a new scene so that the relationship has been cut now. And we've got our object in Maya. I press W to see the wireframes. I have this texture file which is an MDF texture. Now you might have gone to a website called Texturizer. You might have found your own textures. What I've done, I've signed up for Epic Games, which is the Unreal game engine, and there they're giving out the Quixel mixer and the Quixel bridge, which is this, and they have their own PBR free textures. Now obviously you're not meant to use the normal map and roughness and stuff that is associated with these, because the intention is that you develop your own one in Mudbox for now, because you know it's good to showcase that you've got those skills rather than using ready-made stuff. But the color map wise, I don't mind you if you're not doing hand painted stuff and you're up to realism, I don't mind you going and downloading these nice textures using Quixel Bridge. So I'm using Quixel Bridge, and I'm also using Quixel Mixer for my own texturing work, occasionally Substance Painter, but for now we are sticking to Mudbox. We wanted to learn the basics, and we're also sticking to Photoshop. Anyway, so we've got that. That's the color map that I brought in as a stencil. So you know how we bring a stencil, so you go to stencil, add stencil, and you bring your JPEG image there. So anyway, that's that. What we are going to do is, first of all, let's refresh our scene. Let's create a bump map. And I'm going to press W again just to go back. I want to show you that thing of you can actually, when you have an object like this as a cube, or it could be a t-shirt or something, and you want to put some labels on them and what have you, stuff like that. There are two ways of just applying a color map to this, or actually, sorry, we can do a bump map first. Now we can go to UVs and maps and flatten to UV space, and what it does, it flattens our mesh like our UV map. You can see this is our UV map that we brought from Maya, and we can flatten our mesh literally to the UV space. And then when we bring our let's say projection, and we pick a color, let's say pure white, 100% strength, and I want to bring this maybe something like this for now. Well, actually that's too much, or something like that. Then we're going to dial down its visibility. So this is going to be our first pass of our bump map, and what we can do, we can just simply paint over, just to have some grain all around the wood or the MDF. And that's going to be the first, and then the second one, I'm just going to use this, which is this stencil, and I'll just do something like this all around. And then I'll go to UV maps, unflatten from UV space. Now you've got this weird desaturated color look. That's because, as I said, the graphic card can't keep up with it. So I'm going to go back to the object list. This is just a bug. Click anywhere, you know, something like this, and then go back to my layers. This is how I overcome that problem. So we've got two layers of our bump. You can see it's quite prominent. So what I'm going to do, that's that one. I'll reduce the other one as well. Yeah, very tiny. MDF won't have, even this is too much for it. What we can do, we can have a bit of a chip somewhere, maybe make it a bit more untidy. I'm going to use the brush. In fact, I could do another layer. Oops. There we go. I'm using the shift button just to smooth it, and I'm trying to, perhaps not successful, but I'm trying to randomize it as well. I'm using a combination of the shift button. I'm using these stencils with a black and white. Grayscale and it's too obvious there. Let me just I'll just reduce this as well, tiny bit. Yeah, you know, you can do more with this, just to let me pick a stamp actually. That's unusual. Here we go. we can diversify it forever, you know. It's best to check a reference, obviously. But anyway, that's the bump map, and I'm then gonna go and create a diffuse map, which is the color. And for the diffuse map, I'm gonna select my projection, pick that stencil that I had, which is the MDF, and I'm just gonna flood it from the camera, see what we get. Oh, oops, I made a mistake, sorry. I might as well just go to the flatten to UV space, reset my settings, get closer to to my object, and then bring our stencil. Just want to adjust it so that it's nice. Here we go, and then I'll flood it from the camera here. Off. We've got our texture, and then I'll go to unflatten from the UV space. Again, we've got that bug. I'll go to the object list, just click anything, go back to the diffuse channel, and we've got this now. Where is our front? Okay. We'll save our scene. Shelf. Just to be safe. We've got that now, and what we're going to do now, export our bump map. So I'm going to merge all those three, and then I'm going to convert the bump map into a normal map. A normal map from bump, tangent space, Maya, blah blah blah. Okay, turn off the bump. Now we've got a normal map. We want to have a normal map because it's better than a bump map. I'm going to export that first. Export selected, so when you hold on to the right mouse button on the layer, you can export it. And I'll call this shelf normal map. It's going to save our texture. I'm then going to go to the diffuse, right click, export selected, save. Now we've got those two. What we're going to go to Maya, bring our file back, and I'm going to apply a new material, AI standard surface. So I'm holding on to the right mouse button, remember. Shelf shader, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bring our base color, which is a diffuse. Let me just get it right. There you go, and file. I don't want any filters. Shelf diffuse, click open. I'm just going to turn this guy off. So we've got the MDF. The next thing I'm going to do is to bring the bump map. It's under the geometry. In other words, sorry, we're going to bring the normal map. We've converted the bump map to a normal map. in Mudbox. Bump mapping file, and in here we're going to say use as tangent space normals, and Arnold and Mudbox, when they talk to one another, as I said, you have to flip RNG. Sometimes you have to test whether it's based on what you're doing, whether it can work with one of them on or both of them off. Anyway, we've got that sorted, tangent space, and then we're going to go to our bump value, turn off our filter type because we're going to bring a file, and there we're looking for our normal map, and that's it. And also I want to make sure that this is set to, the color space is set to raw. And we can check it in the viewport. Now if you're unsure whether your bump is visible or not, I mean your normal map, you can turn off the color, as in the get rid of the image, or apply your normal map first before you bring in the color. And then you can check it in the viewport to see whether the bump map is in or not. And you can also adjust the amount of the bump as well before you do anything further, whether it's something that you can do at render time or in the viewport. Like I can reduce the value or increase it. I can go a bit subtle with this. So that's that. Yeah, so let's bring our color map back. We're going to save our file. And finally, we for this to work, well, to be able to test the specularity, whether this is shiny or not, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna, under the Arnold shelf, I'm gonna grab one of these lights, maybe an area light of some sort. Just gonna make it bigger. I know we haven't discussed the lights much, but it's okay. Something like this. I'm gonna press number 7 to see whether my lights are on or not, or you can click on this use all lights button. Now, so it's not on, so I'm just gonna go to the attribute editor and increase the exposure. Say 10, 13, something like this. Now we've got our light in the scene. And we can see the surface is highly reflective. And if you don't see this in your viewport, then you might maybe see it in the render. What we can do, in fact, we can click on this Arnold render view, and we'll just do a quick render. I've already tested some stuff for the wall. I need to update my render completely. It's still rendering the old scene. And then switch back to perspective. I said sometimes Arnold does that, so be aware of that. Now you can see the surface is quite shiny. That's purely because sorry about this, it's just computer is taking its time. So that's purely because we've got very high specular. So what we can do, we can, if I just keep a copy of this is just to demonstrate the specularity channel. We can increase the roughness. So if I just grab a portion of this so that we don't end up waiting for the renders. And we'll just render it. We can increase the roughness up here. Let's see what we get. As you can see, we lost that shininess or the specular highlight. We can control it like this. Another thing we can do, if we go and open our color map in Photoshop, I'm just going to bring it in. I think you can see Photoshop in my recording right now. Somehow it switched, so that's good. So we have our color map. What we can do, we can use this color map as a roughness map to break apart some of that shininess. Remember, originally it was like this, so it's quite wet, and you know. So what we can do, we can go to our Photoshop and then we can go to image, adjustment, black and white. Something like that, bit of a grayscale. And then what I like to do, these little almost like what you see, those little chips in you know, compressed wooden pieces in MDF, we can reverse that and make those a bit dark so that they're not shiny, you know, these little pieces. So what I like to do in Photoshop, I would like to utilize Photoshop's color correction tools or adjustment layers, and I'm going to use levels. So I want to bring in terms of color correction, bring this all in from both sides. So we're like color correcting this. We don't want this to be in the extreme, so we want to bring them all in close to that vibrant area. Now we can see everything, but that's not going to help us because we want to create a roughness map. And then I'm gonna bring it up, bring the darker colors out, and then I'm gonna reverse them. So those wooden chips are now dark. So I kind of reversed it now. The extreme whites are now dark, and you know, something like that. We can use this as a roughness map. We'll see. I could have done something similar in Mudbox, perhaps using the same. I can do that. I can save this map and then bring it as a stencil and paint it as a roughness map. But let's try it. Let's see whether we can just plonk it on the mesh straight away as a roughness map. So it's shelf roughness map. There we go. We're back in Maya, and under the specularity within the roughness section, I'm just going to well, let me just stop the APR first. And we'll keep a copy of this again and do a render, see whether anything changed. So it made it quite rough, but there are things we're going to do. First of all, in our roughness channel, I'm gonna set the color space to raw, and I'm gonna make sure the alpha is luminous, and let's see what we get. I'll do another update scene just quickly so that we've got all the files and colors are registered. Here we go, and then I'll stop and do a quick render. And with the roughness, I can put something in between the roughness file and its channel. In other words, you know, I can put something in between this channel to control the amount of the roughness, because we kind of almost lost that sheen there. I don't want to make it too complex. The things that we can do, we can play with, is exposure. We can do that. We can also play with its, I think this is alpha gain. Let me just select it. So we can actually almost use these as dial to control, to lessen the effect of the roughness or not, you know. That's color offset. This is the color gain. Especially this one, where if you bring the extremes down, like for example, if you bring the whites down a bit, you have that old effect, so you can kind of play with that. In fact, we can just skip the exposure perhaps, and even leave the alpha to 1, and just see whether we can get anything from the color gain or not. Should work perhaps. Yeah, I think I'm alright with that one. So let me just take it back to the other camera, which is the shot cam. Ignore the glass thing. I'll put it out there. I'm going to talk about them again, you know, how to create glass quickly. So we've already covered it, but I'm going to cover it again. So I'll just render that shot quickly just to see how it looks with that simple light. I can maybe decrease the exposure a bit more to get a bit of roughness there, less of it. We've got some highlights, some kind of specularity there, so I'm alright with it. So I'll save the file, and in the next session we're going to talk about the glass again, and finally we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap the scene up with our lights. So yeah, I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.